What's up, everybody? Happy Monday.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Cheers.
Cheers
Cheers
to
with our
you.
gun mug and dice mug.
Yes.
I still love those emotes.
Right?
They're so good.
Every time I see them, I'm like, yes, they're so good. They're so
How
good.
is everyone doing in the chat? Welcome to our September 14th show. I can't believe it's September 14th already, not gonna lie.
Right? I mean, we're just how many days away from the election? How many days away from
Jeez.
Cyberpunk? I mean, come on. We have so many things like right around the corner now. And you're like, what? It's September?
Right? It's halfway through September. Oh, geez, I'm not ready for this.
I'm not either.
But today for our news show, we've got a ton of news slotted for today. We're going to start with Fall Guys and how they revealed and shut down Cheater Island.
We also might have actually gotten the official PlayStation price revealed due to some new SKUs.
The Oculus Quest 2 has been leaked with almost 4K resolution.
We've learned more about that next-gen title that wowed us, Black Myth Wukong, as there's looking to be a trilogy.
We'll be talking about Immortals Fenyx Rising, which was that game that looked like Breath of the Wild from the Ubisoft Forward event.
We're also going to be talking about a game that we have talked about here before called Boundary, which looks to be the next, maybe potentially popular first-person shooter that takes place in space, as they released some Raytracing benchmark footage, as well as 6 minutes of zero-G gameplay.
We're going to get into cloud gaming news with Xbox and xCloud as it launches tomorrow.
Speaking of Xbox, we're going to talk about how Microsoft snubs Apple's olive branch to cloud gaming.
If we have time, we're also going to get into GameStop and how they're closing hundreds more stores, RIP GameStop.
And then hopefully we get to watch this. If not, we'll watch it tomorrow, which is an animated short introducing the story of Star Wars Squadrons.
And also, if we have time or if we're able to, an esports roundup of some esports news that has happened over the weekend and, you know, what you need to know to be plugged into the esports world.
That is right. And as always, as we know and the DGN fam knows, what's in the mug?
What's in the mug?
So you throw in your guesses up in the chat and what you think we're sipping on today.
Thank you so much, Kane, for that subscription, for the 3-month subscription.
Thank you, Kane. Thank you so much. Love and appreciate the DGN family. But let's dive right in because I love this story. I love how Fall Guys has been handling all of the stuff going on with their game. And of course, we know about Fight Island from UFC, but now we've learned about Cheater Island on Fall Guys.
So Fall Guys revealed that in addition to adding the much-lauded Big Yeetus soon, the popular video game will be implementing new anti-cheating measures using Epic Games' Easy Anti-Cheat, which is the same software that Fortnite uses. Rather than simply announcing that it would be adding this soon, however, Fall Guys revealed just how the team had been dealing with cheaters until now.
And it turns out that it was essentially pairing cheaters together on Cheater Island, which is not exactly unheard of with multiplayer video games. We know that was something that Activision had touted that they would be doing with Warzone. But then also what we have learned is that Cheater Island is gone now, leaving cheaters simply unable to log in.
So there's a full explanation for this, you know, on their official Twitter account, and we're going to read some tweets that explain, you know, how this whole thing went down.
That is right. Let me go ahead and pull that up. So the first tweet they put out is this. I've got lots of spicy content for you this week. The dev team have been super busy on the new update. For now, buckle up. Let me tell you a wild story. It's called The Rise and Fall of Cheater Island, tagging Netflix in case they want to make a film or series out of it.
They go on to say, at launch, we had some of our own cheat detection built into the game. We weren't banning anyone at this point, just gathering data carefully. We wanted to be 100% sure that our cheat detection would only catch people who are legitimately cheating, no false flags.
Went on to say that after we confirmed that it was working, we secretly launched Fall Guys Cheater Island TM. It was a magical place where cheaters could happily compete against themselves for the cheater's crown. Literally just a normal crown, but tainted with a hollow feeling of guilt and regret.
Remember, at this point, we had data on who was cheating, but weren't acting on it. Fall Guys Cheater Island had a population of 0. So very carefully, over time, we started to lower the threshold on the cheat detection.
If you passed the threshold, you were tagged as a cheater. It's worth pointing out at this stage, cheaters are very smart. If they know they've been tagged as a cheater, they'll work out what caused them to be tagged and then tell other cheaters.
The Fall Guys threshold was originally really tolerant. Cheaters would get caught but not be insta-banished. We hope that they might realize cheating kills the fun, but most continued. So Fall Guys said, we want people to have fun, but not at the expense of others. So we kept lowering the threshold.
So if you were tagged a cheater, you'd be able to finish the game you were in. Then the next time you tried to matchmake, you would only be able to matchmake with other cheaters without realizing you were there. You'd made it. Queuing for Cheater Island.
Now, if you can imagine, you need 40 plus players to actually populate a game. Cheater Island isn't a real location in the real world. Cheater Island had its own set of global servers. You'd need enough cheaters in your region in order to start a Cheater Island game.
If there weren't enough cheaters, you'd all just be falling forever. There were a few genuine bugs that would cause similar things to happen, but mostly when people said they were falling forever, they were cheaters, and we didn't want to give them extra info.
And Fall Guy said, I'm sure you've noticed, we try to be super open and upfront with you in all of our communications. It's been very difficult to talk about cheaters, though, because everything we say gives the cheaters more ammo. They were using any information to improve their cheating.
And for a long time, there weren't enough cheaters to actually start these matches up. As we lowered the threshold to our detection, more and more cheaters were getting caught. But still, no Cheater Island matches. Cheaters were all falling forever and saying the game was broken.
At this point, cheaters started to realize they could team up with friends who weren't cheaters and they could matchmake with them. They were escaping Cheater Island. Oh no, siren emojis. We raced to patch this out before they all realized.
Cheaters also realized that they could use family sharing to share their game to another account and then use the other accounts to bypass Cheater Island. So we disabled family sharing to fix this problem. Dealing with cheaters is difficult. They're very crafty.
During all of this time, we kept increasing the thresholds on our cheat detection. We were 100% confident that anyone being flagged as a cheater was definitely cheating. This was super important to us. We didn't want to falsely ban anyone.
Last week, something exciting happened. There were finally enough cheaters to actually matchmake and create Cheater Island matches. Here's a new problem, though. People were uploading videos that we think are Cheater Island.
Someone actually uploaded a video to Reddit with the title, "Ever played around a fall mountain where all the players are cheating?" The problem is, this looks like Cheater Island, but Fall Guys can't be 100% sure.
When you watch the video, they basically get to the end very quickly. It's hilarious. And then there was another video that they also think was Cheater Island, where the person recording it isn't cheating. Either they didn't cheat just for the video, or it is a genuine server and a legit player. Either way, these videos do make the game look bad.
Fall Guy says, we do know that Cheater Island matches were happening. We just don't know if that's what those videos show. For that reason, we have closed down Cheater Island. Instead, cheaters are now unable to log in. We are continuously improving the threshold on our cheat detection too.
Our cheat detection system was good, but we hadn't expected so many players, and we had no idea the lengths that some players would go to cheat. We tried to create a system around honesty. But as soon as we realized we were in an arms race, we called up the experts at Epic.
Now, our next update is called Big Yeetus and Anti-Cheatus. And it'll tell you more about the Yeetus part later, but the anti-cheatus part, we're actually adding Epic's anti-cheat, which will be a huge step forward as we continue to improve things. Coming soon!
Oh my God. I loved that entire story. I thought it was great. And I love the name Big Yeetus and Anti-Cheatus.
I love the social media team at Fall Guys. They are always spot on. This was such a saga, and I feel like they're so good at like putting memes into there. And besides just like Big Yeetus and Cheatus, also just being like, oh yeah, we've tagged Netflix just in case they want to make this a
just
real
in
show.
Case. That's so funny. And they really are. I think the way they're going about it is the way in which it's very appealing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
They're not asking people nicely to stop cheating. They're going above and beyond to ensure it happens, and actually reaching out to experts with an anti-cheat system in order to implement it into their game. Who would have thought, y'all? Who would have thought?
It seems like they're taking, a lot of very swift action on this. They have this whole like all these systems that are going on behind the scenes to actually catch these cheaters and do something about it and make them fall forever. And I like how that kind of exposes cheaters themselves of like, oh, is there a Fall Guys issue? I've been falling forever. And everyone's like, cheater. Like we can tell. Also like how they've approached this in a way that's not cheesy.
Yes.
As you said, it's not like they're not just asking people to stop cheating, or they're not being like, oh, cheating is bad, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, they've come at it from like such like a fun approach while also actually dealing with the problem.
And I think this lends to the interest in Fall Guys. Is it just appears that the way they've approached this is, like you were saying, it seems like wholesome is the foundation of everything that they do and everything that they're trying to achieve. You can obviously see that in the game, and the way in which they're publicly displaying this. It could be different internally. We obviously know that. They could be very frustrated. You don't set out to create a game and have people come in and cheat the system in order to win. But when like, hey, I need those crowns in order to achieve, unlocking certain skins or just, visual changes in the game, you have people go, well, it's so hard to do that because the game is meant to be challenging. Like, I want to cheat to get there. But they've found a way to shame cheaters, and I feel like that is something that we need to focus more on, is how do you shame these individuals, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. How do you, let people know that this is like really deplorable? The videos that they showed from Cheater Island, one of them is it's the hill where they're racing to the crown. The race starts and then everyone is immediately at the crown. They're just like right there. They just totally skip there. And you're like, they're definitely cheating here.
They really are. And I say go watch these videos just because you'll see how ridiculous it is that people do this. And streamers have been catching it too as well. It's like, oh my God, we've got more people cheating. And the same goes for like Warzone. I am daily losing my interest in Warzone because of how bad their cheating system is just, non-present. So hats off to Fall Guys and those developers for handling this the way they are, doing that whole tweet of telling that whole story. Wonderful saga. I can't wait till we see like some sort of like short film or something, capturing that whole narrative like they were saying. That would be great one day.
I think so too. They should just take your tweets and like hire a voice actor to do, a visual over, what's happening. I feel like that would be perfect. Great content. Also, thank you so much, Ray Skywalker, for the 3-month sub.
Thank you,
welcome,
Ray.
Welcome everyone to the chat.
Thank you. Hey, what's up, Silly One, and what is up, San, and everyone who's dropped in. EG and Kika, how are you? Yeah, I am I'm all for this team, and I can't wait to see what Fall Guys looks like a year from now, and as it continues to grow and the interest continues to rise. Good job, guys. Good job.
Absolutely. So our next story is the PlayStation 5's price might have been revealed by new SKUs.
So this isn't official, but as of course with this information, we have to take a look at what it is that we know. And recently, a pair of SKUs listed by a Spanish retailer might have revealed the price for the PlayStation 5. So according to the report, two consoles are listed, one at 399 euros, and the other at 499 euros. Those prices would equate to about the same in US dollars. Presumably, these prices would be all for an all-digital version of the PlayStation 5, similar to the Xbox Series S, and then the full version with the disc drive. The listings did not actually mention which consoles they were for, so we got to take it with a grain of salt. But at the moment, it is the best hint at the price that we might get prior to Wednesday's PlayStation 5 presentation.
If these prices prove to be correct, it would be a bit surprising to a lot of analysts, because a number of analysts have predicted a $599 price point for the full console, particularly since the Xbox Series X and Series S, which will apparently sell at a decent loss for Microsoft. Additionally, $399 would make the digital version of the PlayStation 5 $100 more than the Xbox Series S, so the full version of the PS5 coming in at the same price as the Xbox Series X wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. It's
going to be interesting to see what the role in price might play in this console generation, because PlayStation consoles have always outsold those of Microsoft. And Sony has two very reliable franchises appearing within the launch window. We have Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. With Halo Infinite delayed until 2021, PlayStation might have the firepower to start out strong in this generation, particularly if the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are priced the same. However, if the Xbox Series X does end up retailing for $100 less than the PlayStation 5, things could be a bit tighter.
At the end of the day, it's all just conjecture until Sony officially announces a price point. and a price and release date are expected to be revealed during Wednesday's PS5 presentation, particularly since pre-orders for Xbox will become available soon. Things are pretty competitive between the two heading into the next console generation, and it's going to be interesting to see what's actually going to happen when the PS5 price is announced. What do you think the price is going to be, Marone?
I have a feeling they have got to make the commitment to being close enough to Microsoft's price point now that we know what it is in order to not lose customers. Because some of the information that I've been hearing about regarding the Xbox Series S and it running at 120 frames per second with like Gears of War 5 and some of the other games that have been doing extremely well for a $299 price point, you're talking right now in a lot of economies that are struggling, the lower price will win. So if Sony doesn't come out with a price that doesn't feel like it is, affordable, they're gonna hurt themselves right now. And you could actually see Microsoft do very well for the first time with the console launch.
I think the Xbox Series S is going to do super well personally. I mean, coming in at, I think it's $299, which just sounds wrong when I say it out loud. I'm like, I might get a Series S, like that's, $299 is doable, for a lot of consumers. I know that this number of $599 for the PlayStation 5 has been floating around, but I think that's going to be too steep for a lot of people. My initial guess was going to be $499, which what the Xbox Series X is. I could also see it coming in at like $549, so like $50 more. I think that this is gonna, be a big win for Xbox if the PlayStation 5 prices itself so high. Also historically, both companies have, they've been okay with selling consoles at a loss anyway. That's
the thing that we do take into mind here when we're talking about this speculation. Wednesday's going to be the reveal. They're going to give that price. We're going to learn what it is, and it'll be set in stone going forward. Like I said the last time, we talked about this with regard to the Microsoft pricing model. If PlayStation's able to say, hey, we're going to do that monthly pricing model very much like it is for the cell phone business, then you'll see PlayStation do well. But if it doesn't, and it's like we have this set in stone price that we have to hit, and you're talking getting an Xbox Series S up front for $25, I mean, how do you compete with that? I just in the current economic situation globally, how do you compete with that? I don't think you can.
I hope that Xbox gets its ducks in a row more with marketing and advertising. As Enrico says, keep in mind the Xbox One main launch title was television. And thank you so much, Kai Almighty, for the $50 dono, by the way.
Oh my God, Kai, thank you so much.
We super appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And Dr. Gonzo, thank you for the 3-month sub. We appreciate this DGN family. And hello, Mena. How are you?
Hi, let's get some hype in the chat. But for a lot of people that haven't maybe been following, this console war so closely, they might be like, hey, what are the launch titles? Is it Halo Infinite? No, I guess it's not Halo Infinite. And, that messaging, I think it would be great if that became more clear.
That's true. And with later in the show, we're going to actually talk about something regarding what Xbox might have up their sleeve with regards to the Xbox Games Pass. We're still in that place now of being like, Sony, the ball's in your court. What's it going to be? This number, when I look at this, and when you go based on SKUs, you're pretty permanent on those unless somebody comes in there and changes it at the last minute. I would say that they've got to present something on Wednesday that feels like it's a justification to get the PlayStation 5 for the next-gen experience, especially with this holiday season.
They do. Leading up to this point, I've been thinking that PlayStation 5 has been, the winner. It's been ahead in the race the whole time, especially because it offers, the DualSense controller, the 3D Tempest audio, and Xbox hasn't really, had a response to those things, except, that huge, the huge news of a low price point, I think has really undercut everything that PlayStation has kind of built up as the reason of why you should choose a PlayStation instead. So I agree.
Yeah.
They've got to come up with a reason to counter this. It was a good move on Xbox.
It is, and yeah, I'm with on Royo San there is I do have this feeling that Sony's got something up their sleeve. They've done this many times before. So I am excited about Wednesday's event. Hopefully it's happening right around the same time that DGN is. I didn't double check on the times, and maybe we could do a live watch and react, and maybe we'll get a wonderful Mark Cerny dialogue fireside chat.
Mark Cerny! So our next bit of news is the Oculus Quest 2 has been leaked with almost 4K resolution, Snapdragon XR2, and 6 gigabytes of RAM.
How crazy is this? Because it was rumored that there was an Oculus Quest 2, and that actually just got confirmed by a couple of leaked videos that went up on the Facebook Blueprint website. And the videos call it the most advanced all-in-one VR system yet.
So the Oculus Quest 2 will be powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon XR2 chipset, a massive improvement over the original Quest Snapdragon 835, given its double CPU and GPU performance, 11 times faster AI processing, 6 times video resolution support, and 4 times video bandwidth. Other confirmed specs for the Oculus Quest 2 include 6 gigabytes of RAM and an almost 4K display featuring nearly 2K per eye, which is about 50% more pixels compared to the original model, making it the highest resolution headset ever made by Oculus.
So, and in terms of the storage size, there's going to be a 256 gig version, though it doesn't sound like that's going to be the basic one. The Quest 2 will be smaller, lighter, and the controllers have been made more comfortable too, thanks to the improved ergonomics. The Oculus Link will still be available, naturally, allowing Quest users to play Oculus Rift games after they've connected their headset to a gaming PC.
The Oculus Quest 2 is likely to be officially unveiled during the upcoming Facebook Connect scheduled for Wednesday, September 16th. There's no pricing information in the leaked videos, but rumors are pointing to a $300 price, which I'm shocked at. The original model was already quite popular, but this one could turn out to be an even bigger success. I think my model was $499.
Yeah, I think $399 was the model.
I think it was $399.
There's a $399 one, and that's 120, and then there's the $399, which is like the 65 gig or 68 gig or whatever, and then there's the double one that's $100 more, the 128. So if this comes out at let's say if the 250 is not the basic, and we follow what they've done now, and it's 120. But if they come out with a 120 gig headset for $299, $300 for VR, they're going to do an amazing job of what Microsoft is doing right now. Is actually probably draw people over to be like, wait a second, I could have a virtual reality system and a next-gen console for about the same cost of what the disc version of the PlayStation 5 would run.
Wow, that's so true. And, part of why I made the jump to VR was because of the Oculus Quest, was because it wasn't, crazy expensive, because I didn't have to have, a big PC rig for it. And if this is going to be even better, I could see a lot of people going over to this, or people who already own a Quest buying one of these. We were just talking last stream or a couple shows ago about how, the resolution of the screens needs to be updated, and we've already got our answer.
That's going to save a lot of the actual headache that people get from virtual reality in the first place. Yeah, is this this change in the visuals is going to assist in more individuals playing with a virtual reality headset and enjoying the experience. Because there are other virtual reality, like you can go inside of a room or go to a location and play, and you're like, wow, this is actually great. Well, that's a lot of the times because the headsets they're using there are higher quality, so that it doesn't actually, turn out to have that biological reaction to what happens with our brains with VR. Now they're saying, hey, for $100 less, we're going to actually help lower that problem and probably increase sales, because more people will go play it, test it, use it, hear other people playing it, testing it, and using it, and say, this is the one that you need.
Right. I think of a lot of people, try this and they really don't get those side effects. They don't get headaches as badly. They're going to recommend it to their friends a lot more, because a lot of the people who have tried to be, more of the early adopters into VR, they run into a lot of these problems, and it's discouraging because a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't want to try VR because it'll give me a headache, because it's just too expensive, because the goggles are too big. There's no reason for me to get into it. Well, now it seems like there's going to be a reason for them to get into it. Also, 100%. Thank you so much, Sequasi, for the 3-month resub. And what's up, Cap?
Hey, what's up, Cap? Hey, actually, like I got to give some credit there to who was it? Kane and Kai. You guys work together. You got it right. Coffee with sugar. You said black coffee, Kai, and I was like, oh, it's too specific. But yeah, coffee and sugar is in Marrone's mug, so it's left up to figure out what's in KAISA'S mug.
I think you can get it. I've had this tea before. I'll give you that as a hint.
And to Alligator's question, there is a Facebook event slated to come up. This is a confirmed but unconfirmed leak. Like, it leaked on an official Facebook page. And these leaks have been getting hilarious, by the way, like internal leaks happening. And so when we find out the official date, it could be that we see it for holiday season. I mean, it could be that they turn around and want to compete with the next gen systems.
I could see that. I mean, right now is, when we've seen the price point announcement for the Xbox Series X, we're going to hear it for PlayStation really soon. It makes sense that, this is the time for an Oculus Quest 2 to be announced for holiday 2020. Holiday 2020 is going to be so lit.
It's going to be crazy. Oh my God, there's so much coming out. And for our next story, this is actually something else that I think when you talk about crazy is learning more about this next-gen title that we showed off a few months ago when the gameplay first released, which is that game Black Myth Wukong, is set to be a trilogy and feature over 100 enemy types.
I love how it's already going to be a trilogy because the gameplay that we saw, we were both blown away by, and we're just like, we need this game now. And I love how there are already plans, to have this be a trilogy. So after an impressive gameplay reveal last month, Chinese studio Game Science is back with all new information on Black Myth Wukong. And we've collected some key details from the developers at a recent sit-down with IGN. There's an article posted, and we'll be delving into that information.
So in that sit down with Game Science, it was revealed that Black Myth Wukong is just the beginning, with at least 2 more games planned after its release. Game Science co-founder and producer Feng Ji stated he wants to create a Black Myth universe. Right now, the team is made up of about 30 people, and Black Myth Wukong is their first outing using Unreal Engine 4. So far, what they have achieved is pretty astounding. It's impressing, like the God of War director Cory Barlog, who called it awesome on Twitter. And the game has been in development for 2 years already, and it's expected to take another 3 years to complete.
Black Myth Wukong is a darker take on the journey to the West Tale. The gameplay looks similar to what you might find in Souls-like games, while features like a single-shot camera were inspired by God of War. Game Science plans on including over 100 enemy types in the final game and aims for roughly a 15-hour playthrough time.
That demo from the gameplay trailer that was revealed last month, which we have playing right now, is entirely playable. The level showcase in the video is called Black Wind Mountain and took 6 months to create, according to the developers. A single run-through of Black Wind Mountain is said to take about 30 to 60 minutes at normal difficulty, and it will be one of Black Myth Wukong's earlier levels.
The initial trailer was meant to act as a hiring tool to help recruit skilled developers, and it seemed to work. After the video went viral, Game Science received over 10,000 resumes. However, we don't expect to see anything new on Black Myth Wukong for a long time, as the developer wants to ensure that the next trailer will be even more impressive than what we've seen thus far.
Welcome to the DGN family, the Danish Wasper. I love it. So this game is being designed as a premium console game. There has been no official confirmation on whether it's coming to the PlayStation 5 just yet. Fingers crossed, though, that we're all going to get our hands on it when the game releases in a few years.
This game looks so good, and I love how they released the trailer as a hiring tool because that worked so well for them. I
would have been right there along with them if I was working in the gaming industry. I saw this trailer, and they were like, this is what we're working on. Want a job here? Yes. Yes, I am ready to come and work there. I was blown away by this trailer, and when they said it was Unreal Engine 4 that they're working on, that's something even more significant because Epic has Unreal Engine 5 for the next gen that they've already been touting.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised by that too because Unreal Engine 5 looks so good and so impressive, but they're not even working with that technology right now. Also, hearing that the team is made of about 30 people was surprising, but not at the same time after interviewing Quantum Error and seeing that that team is 4 people. And the trailer that they made and what we've seen so far was just absolutely incredible. I feel like my idea of what a development team needs to be to create a good game has totally shifted.
100%. I couldn't echo that even more. Our interview with Quantum Error developers took place last Friday. That VOD is available for those who didn't catch it. Quantum Error is a new, they call it a cosmic horror, survival horror FPS. Check out that interview. It was great. Team Kill Media was one half of the team. It's mind-blowing what a small number of people are able to achieve, and to see this and to know they showed at one point, there's like a gameplay trailer of 100 enemies or thousands of enemies on the map at the same time, and it running this smooth that you're seeing here in this one-on-one battle. That's something I haven't ever seen before.
Me either, and I think we've been seeing a lot more innovation and creativity in gameplay mechanics or features, or what enemies can do, what you can do, how your skill set, how your skill tree grows, and what kind of skills and abilities you can use in a game. For example, in this game, you go from like a cicada, to like right here, to from being a cicada to being Wukong, the Monkey King, and I haven't seen something like this in a game, and that smooth transition, I think, really speaks to next gen, even though this is on Unreal Engine 4.
It really does. And then the fight that takes place, which, you know what, I'll just go ahead and jump to it when it happens. There's a fight that takes place with the giant werewolf. And that battle is so cool to see. Again, this is a playable demo. Like, if you had the chance to go there and sit down, you could play this demo and have this experience. And there's moments in this demo that you're just sitting there and you're just like, this is on a current system like the Unreal Engine 4. What does it mean if they do shift to Unreal Engine 5? If we know it's about another 3 years before we're going to see this game come out, most likely we're going to see it on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, I would imagine, for it being a console exclusive. These kind of games will also help win over the PC master race minded individuals, where they go, I don't get to play this game unless I have a next gen console. When more of these titles start coming out, I'm going to start to own these consoles so that I can have these. I mean, just look at this, just to have this experience.
Right. We were especially, blown away by the fur detailing and how it's so dynamic and how it moves as you fight. I think a lot of, PC Master Race people are, I think, at least anecdotally, like slowly moving over to also owning a console. They're like, oh yeah, why, why not? If I can't play this on PC, if they're a streamer, and they're trying to play the latest games, or if they just want to be, in with what's happening. I know a lot of people that own, one of every console, which can be expensive, but also if there is, a digital version or something like the Xbox Series S, I can see how it's, more doable.
That is so true. And I also wonder when they say we have about another 3 years until it's completed and we want to have this trilogy, I also wonder if maybe they'll take some of like the filmmaking approach where they're going to release the games faster because they're working on all of the games at once, right?
I see.
If that is the way they're approaching development, that could be pretty significant for them in terms of if they go through a 2-year cycle and it's not, here's one game, and then you got to wait another 6 years before you get the next game, but you get the first installment, and then a year later you get the second, and then a year later you get the third. If that's the model they're possibly working on here, that could change the way in which we get game releases going, where they're like, okay, people are fine waiting as long as they're interested, and they'll get them faster than they would like we're normally experiencing with games coming out and releasing, especially like sequels and trilogies.
Right, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel like they could work with to create, a new game based on the assets they've already created, or the environment, or the world, or the lore. I could definitely see how, sequels could be faster to make, and to not pull something like a Madden 21 where you're just, doing this exact same animation or the exact same like crowd noises. Like,
yep.
It's a little bit different, but kind of the same idea.
It is, yeah. And Black Phillip, if you just joined us, they did announce that Black Myth Wukong is set to be a trilogy, and they're set to create a Black Myth universe, which I just, I love the BMU. You just think of you just think of these like they're creating this universe. Marvel really set that that bar with the whole MCU and creating these universes to be loved and enjoyed and explored. And I don't really know that mythology, but I am sure if it's just like any other mythology, there are plenty of stories to tell, characters to come across, experiences to have in game that I'm all for this team, and I hope the development process is actually quicker than 3 years.
Me too. I hope we also see maybe some reviews of like a demo, if that section of gameplay we saw was playable. I'd love to hear, if it's actually fun, because the game can look really fun. Like Amazon's Crucible, I thought looked fun, but apparently it didn't feel fun. So I'd always like to know that. I know, of course, it would be bad for this game if there was a review that said it wasn't fun. So I know that's not going to happen, and I believe it will be. Also, yes, this is mint tea.
Hey.
But it is mint tea.
Nice. The chat got it before the end of the show. I love it.
Nice.
But our next story is one that is also really interesting, because after Ubisoft Forward's event on Friday, we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we saw, and there was this game that looked strikingly like a game we all know and love, Zelda's Breath of the Wild, but they were like, it's not Breath of the Wild. It's actually called Immortals Fenyx Rising.
And we were like, what? So we're going to delve into the factors that make it different from Breath of the Wild, because in my mind, it's just Breath of the Wild.
100%. 100%. But let's talk what Ubisoft says is why it's different.
So they said after the major reveal of the upcoming video game Immortals Fenyx Rising, many gamers were quick to point out that the gameplay of this game was quite familiar to a very popular game on the Switch, as was our first impression, Breath of the Wild. So
the similarities were quite glaring, especially on gameplay like exploration, sword fights, and a few other instances. Now, Associate Game Director Julien Galoudec told VGC in an exclusive interview that they did not deny that this is one of the many influences they have for developing the game. He did say that they were influenced more on other action-adventure games from the early 2000s like Jak and Daxter or Banjo-Kazooie.
So if this game is a bit influenced with Breath of the Wild, what makes it different from that popular title? Galoudec explains.
Says that, I think what makes Immortals Fenyx Rising quite unique is the setting. So exploring the Greek mythology and also the tone we are using to do that. So having something lighthearted and a lot of humor within the way we explore the Greek mythology assists us on that.
And also to balance between exploration, puzzles, and especially the combat is fast-paced, acrobatic, fantastical, and you're going to fight a lot of different creatures, sometimes pretty huge like a Cyclops or Minotaur. I think all of that mixed together brings something pretty unique to Immortals Fenyx Rising.
And Artistic Charmer, we're right there with you, because I think it is way too much of an influence. They go on to say this: it was very important when we were making decisions in terms of design that the journey was as fun and as challenging as the destination. And the model drove a lot of decisions in the way we built the game, both in terms of the gameplay experience, the world, and narration.
So just to pause and to listen to, these reasons why it's different from Breath of the Wild, it doesn't sound that different to me. I mean, puzzles, fast-paced combat, that's fantastical, and you're fighting different creatures. I'm like, that's still Breath of the Wild. I mean, what you saw there, this person was flying in. It just seemed very similar to paragliding in Breath of the Wild, and this looks like, the desert outside Gerudo Town. Like, yeah. I, at a glance, I'd be like, this is a part of Breath of the Wild, maybe a part of the map that I haven't visited yet.
Yeah.
So humor is one of the factors that will apparently make Immortals Fenyx Rising different from other similar games. Galoudec reveals that comedy will not just be applied within the dialogue of the story, but also within moment-to-moment experiences.
So the Associate Game Director gives an example of a scene where Fenyx is upgrading her stats, and she will drop some humor and references to some pop culture that this generation would recognize. The developers are applying that kind of tone in all aspects of the game so that it will be consistent for us players.
Not gonna lie, when I hear humor, this pop culture will recognize, I'm like, are they gonna talk about Big Cheetus, Yeetus, Deletus? Is that what this is gonna be?
There's gonna be a spell or some sort of potion that's you have Big Yeetus, Big Yeetus and anti-Cheetus.
Oh my god! So some famous individuals from the game industry have already tried out gameplay of Immortals Fenyx Rising and are already giving it some positive feedback after playing. So hopefully it's going to live up to everyone's expectations.
And we're all going to get a chance to experience Immortals Fenyx Rising, which launches on December 3rd on the Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC via the Epic Games Store and Uplay, and also Google Stadia, if you remember that one.
I don't know why I would play this game if I'm still playing Breath of the Wild. Maybe if you finish Breath of the Wild, you want more of that, you're going to dive in? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think Breath of the Wild, and especially with rumors of the second one coming out, you're going to have this conflict either by people who own Breath of the Wild or have played Breath of the Wild being like, well, why do I want to play this if I've already got that experience at home? Now, you are going to draw over people that don't own a Switch and want an experience like this that isn't, locked into one hardware. So that's where they might win over players, but I'm still sitting there going like, don't tell me that this is different. It's like when Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row were first around, the first series of Saints Row was pretty much a GTA clone. They had to shift into the direction of being super campy, super hilarious, and over the top to break themselves away from basically being like, well, if you want to play Saints Row, just go play Grand Theft Auto. It's a much better game.
Right. I mean, you made a good point that maybe this is the Breath of the Wilds if you don't have a Switch, if you want that similar experience. But I think that, I think just aesthetically it's so similar, and how you're moving around is relatively similar. It looks a little bit different. Maybe you have a little bit more mobility, but it's still, swords, it's still arrows, it's still, having
art style
abilities, art style. It's the same thing. And if you have to have whole articles out on the internet explaining why your game isn't Breath of the Wild, I think you're doing something wrong. That's a great
point right there. That's really it. If I have to tell you why it's not the same, we're off to a rocky start. And I get what Kai's saying is like, well, maybe it's a different storyline. It is, but it doesn't really matter about the storyline being different when everything else surrounding it just makes you go, well, why wouldn't I go play the game that got a 10 out of 10 by pretty much everyone and is probably one of the best games to come out in the decade and will be contender for best game of the decade. You know what I mean?
It's a battle you don't want to pick. I guess this game is going to be fun. I don't know if maybe the reaction of people streaming this game is the commenters are just going to be like, oh, like, just go play Breath of the Wild. Or like, what is this? This is Ubisoft? I was also, I just have to point out that listening to the Ubisoft Forward event, I think the CEO called it Ubisoft. And I was just like, this whole time, everyone's like, say Ubisoft. I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's like a tomato type situation.
Guess so, yeah.
GIF or GIF. You got the battles that happen there. So I think we're just kind of stuck in what we know of it as versus what you hear them say. Yeah, I get that. Oh my God.
But let's dive into some ray tracing, as we've got some news about Boundary. And Boundary Ray Tracing Benchmark is a tech research project deriving from the space FPS game Boundary, which we talked about way back in March, marching towards achieving a full real-time ray tracing in-game. This benchmark project utilized the latest ray tracing and ray tracing optimization technology to enable players to see the future of the technology. So
we're going to throw up this ray tracing video, and then they also, Surgical Scalpels, the developers behind this, released a 6-minute gameplay. So we're going to watch that as well. I am so hyped about this game for it being a zero-gravity first-person shooter, and the way in which that's going to just allow the possibility of gameplay to carry out. So let's check out this ray tracing benchmark video. You lining up your video, Kaisa?
Yes, I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's get it started. 3, 2, 1, go.
This music's so lovely.
It really is.
Wow.
And I think if you have the monitor for it, you got to watch this on your own.
Yeah.
We're cranking out at 720p, but just like, it just doesn't do it justice. It looks so good. Answer the call.
Wow, even the details in the fabric.
Yeah. The reflection on the visor.
Yeah.
What's up, Supple?
What's up?
That's so cool. Oh my god.
It looks so good. And there were some moments of that where I was like, oh, this looks real, similar to what we've seen with the 3000 graphics cards, of just like how they've captured the lighting and, you know, the level of detail in there.
So the question then probably comes with this, which is, what does ray tracing mean for Boundary?
So Boundary's realistic space environments feature complex space structures and orbiting facilities for players to navigate around, some of which utilize large reflective surfaces such as solar panels and glass. The benchmark facilitates ray trace reflections on opaque and translucent surfaces. Boundary's ray tracing benchmark improves real-time cinematic quality rendering, further enhancing things like shadows and ambient occlusion, which dictates how both direct and indirect light react with different surfaces and textures, from astro operator spacesuits to a highly reflective solar panel or helmet visor.
So think about that. You could be in a shootout in Boundary, and someone's visor will glare from their positioning towards the sun or another light source that's bouncing the light around, and that's how your eye would catch another player being there. That's so awesome. I love that so much.
It's next level. I think it adds a lot, you know, to gameplay. We've kind of talked a bit about ray tracing, and, you know, if a car rolls up and you see the reflection in the window, you know where your enemy is, and you might not have been able to locate them before like that. Some people are asking, what's happening with the guns in space? So we've kind of joked about this of like, oh, is there like an international war where they're like, yo, you want to 1v1 me in space? Yeah. Like, let's take this to space, gamers.
Yeah, I believe the story that I read early on when this game was first announced was supposedly all of the like world's governments and national bodies realized that how destructive war was on the planet, but that they still would have their wars. They would just now take place in space so that they wouldn't be destroying the planet. That was my kind of like understanding when they first talked about it. I don't think there was like a huge hardcore story behind a lot of this. They were just like, it's a zero gravity shooter and you're going to have fun. So, you know, maybe they've tied in more, but that's what I knew. But let us also jump into some of the gameplay, because it's going to feel a little familiar to a title that's very popular, but it's also going to have a lot of things that we haven't really gotten to see in shooters like this.
Let's get into it. Let's take a look.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
This music's so hype. This looks so hype.
I loved the grapple.
Yeah.
Boundary is the new zero-gravity FPS game from Studio Surgical Scalpels and their publisher Huya.
Yes, Call of
The game will
Duty.
be hitting the store soon on PC and PlayStation. And if you've ever wondered what a fight on an international space station would look like, your question may be answered. But unique gunplay mechanics, awesome abilities, and comprehensive gun and character customization, it's definitely a game to keep your eye on. Boundary is a pure multiplayer game with 4 main game modes. In this section, I'll briefly explain each one and show some extended gameplay. Facility Capture. Facility Capture is your tried and true domination mode. You and your team try to capture and hold specific sites in the map, and the team that scores the most points at the end of the round wins the game. Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch is the familiar mode that we all know and love. You and your team's objective is to collect more heads than the other team,
classic,
and the team that collects the most heads win.
100%.
It's in space. Skirmish. Skirmish is a great mode to test out different classes and guns. In each round, everyone from both yours and the opposition's team spawns with the same class. Each class is randomized for each round, so everyone is on the same playing field. A team that wins the most rounds through elimination wins the match. Orbital Purge. This is Boundary's competitive mode. With a search and destroy mechanic, you only get to live once per round, while trying to eliminate the other team or securing your objective. This is where team composition, teamwork, and loadouts excel, as players have to use their kit efficiently and effectively to win these rounds. At launch, Boundary aims to release 8 maps with these 4 game modes. With each map varying in size, dynamics, and theme, there's plenty of variety for players to keep on playing the game.
Their musical choices are great.
And now for the star of the show, Boundary's Zero Gravity mechanic. This unique movement mechanic allows players to control their character's vertical and horizontal positioning through dedicated buttons and keys. And of course, there's also the dedicated roll button. This allows you to rotate the center of gravity, creating for some pretty awesome scenes. Boundary really is an FPS experience unlike any other. You actually feel that you're fighting in space. While it does take some time and a little bit of motion sickness to get used to, the verticality and movement mechanics of the game add an extra
It would
layer
definitely
that's
take me
rarely
some time
found
to
in
get a
other
handle
FPS
on
titles.
moving
Yes.
around comfortably and confidently.
Yeah,
The
your
guns in this
boosters
game are
move you around.
specifically attached to your respective class. There's a variety of weapons available, from your futuristic shotguns to the old trusty AK assault rifle. While you can always switch out your guns from fallen enemies and allies, the gun that you spawn with will always be from your respective loadout. While that might be the case, there's a decent amount of customization available for each gun. From customizing fire types, trigger groups, and many more, you can find yourself in the testing range for a while, min-maxing your gun to fit your preference.
That's cool.
The customization does not end there. Your trusty spacesuit can also be customized.
Oh, wow.
Your left and right pylons
that.
in your suit hold your utilities such as grenades, EMPs, and even an extra machine gun as seen on the shielder operator. The movement attachments such as space dashes, brakes, and grappling hooks, the movement, combined with the game's zero gravity mechanic, makes fights infinitely more interesting. And of course, it wouldn't be an FPS game without skins. Your typical gun and character
Skins!
cosmetics are here with some pretty interesting choices from the developers. Let's talk about the characters in Boundary. The game has a total of 6 classes. These classes or operators offer unique playstyles that fit you and your team the most. I'll focus on the 2 of my favorite operators in this video, but there are 4 other awesome operators that players can try out at launch. Vodka. Sergei Vodka falls under the combat category of operators. This uniquely named operator is your tried and true FPS veteran. His accelerator skill pumps himself full of go-go juice that increases damage resistance and improves recoil for a short time.
Go-go
He's
juice.
definitely a great character to start off with if you've had previous FPS experience. While his kit may be straightforward, everyone loves a little bit of vodka. Shielder. Idle Shielder falls under the support category of operators, but don't let the name fool you. Her ballistic shield, paired with her heavy artillery of machine guns and auto launchers, make her a walking, well, floating fortress in space. However, with a lack of mobility modules at her disposal, she can sometimes be outmaneuvered by other operators. With her, it's not as simple as pointing and clicking. Knowing when and when not to use her abilities can truly be the shifting tide in the battlefield.
That's cool.
Overall, Boundary really is a unique experience. If you love the idea of freely moving around in space while getting those dopamine-inducing frags, well, this game might be for you. With tons of custom options for both characters and guns, there's plenty of freedom to make your astronaut uniquely yours. The real star is the setting of the game. With beautiful maps paired with destructible environments, it's very easy to put yourself in the shoes, or rather, boots of the astronaut placed in a war zone in space. With plenty of playstyles available for every player, there's definitely a role suited just for you. This game is what people
Love how
think
you can
Space
destroy
Force
the
would be like.
environment.
Yes.
If you've ever had a passing interest in even the concept of a space FPS, Boundary is definitely one to check out. And for everyone asking, wait, it's all in space? To that I say,
Always has been.
The memes, so many memes. This looks more Call of Duty than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, when that gameplay of this first came out, people were even saying this is what they thought Infinite Warfare was going to be, and didn't live
Wow.
up to that. I think there has been a real strong interest in the zero grab shooter. I mean, Space Junkies on virtual reality was one that took off, and people loved that capability. There were some shooters that took place underwater. People just really enjoyed that it adds a layer of gameplay that's not really seen before, where it's like I can now get out of a fight and possibly win a fight based on my vertical movement. You know what I mean? And that's something where right now everything's horizontal, or you take stairs, you use a vehicle. If I'm in a situation where I'm in a battle and I need to move down and away in order to escape, I now have that allotted to me. That adds so much to the strategy of how in which you plan to win.
Right, I think it's the natural progression of like where gameplay is going, like space, the final frontier. Like you haven't seen a lot of space shooters, with Star Wars Squadrons is going to be coming out, in the future as well. I think that this is, it's great to see this game, really start to, crystallize. I am also glad that it looks very much like Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is fun, A.
Yes.
But B, I was worried that, the vertical movement was going to make it so difficult or foreign that it wasn't fun or didn't feel familiar. Also because in this game, you're around the spaceship, so you have to use the spaceship for cover. So instead of, going out to hide near walls or around corners, you're actually going, closer to the inside of the map to duck around things there. And I thought that was going to be a lot different, but looking at this gameplay, it just seems like it feels very familiar. It seems like something I could easily pick up.
Right. And that's the part that I'm drawn to, is it's like, okay, I know this, but I don't know this at the same time. I know what it's like to play a shooter that looks like this, but what I don't know is some of these features and abilities that assist my movement and my choice of approaching a target. And what I'm really excited to see is if it grasps the esports area, because you're talking watching games that are probably not going to ever carry out the same. You could watch a Warzone match with Call of Duty and be like, I know what I'm going to see. You can watch a search and destroy session with Call of Duty League and go, I know what I'm about to see. But with Boundary, you have an added layer of, I don't necessarily know what it is I'm about to actually witness here. How in which someone might pull off a clutch win, or how a team might just come in and steamroll everybody because they're like ninjas in space. And you're just like, how are they so dominant?
Right. How do they move like that? I also think this would be easy for, a lot of spectators to understand, which has been, a problem in esports when people watch Overwatch League. They're like, what's happening is just a bunch of explosions. I don't really follow this. Or for CSGO, or, for Call of Duty, sometimes it's a lot more fun if you understand, what the map is, versus if there's a spectating mode around here, you'd be able to clearly see the map or all the players around the map. And I think this would be a lot easier to follow as an esport.
Yeah, and I love the learning curve and it reminds me of Rocket League. As someone who played Rocket League for 4 years, one of the things about Rocket League's learning curve is you have just learning how to move your car on the ground. The next stage to that is, how do I transition with boost in the air properly? And what you've got with Boundary that I'm already looking at from that gameplay footage is the learning curve of not just learning how to shoot and use your lethals and equipment effectively, but also how to maneuver. Because that in and of itself is a layer to gameplay that people who want to excel will excel at that by focusing on it.
Right. It's definitely, it's its own skill set that you have to master. Getting good at that maneuvering is going to give you definitely an edge. I'm also about like the lore of Boundary. I'm okay with no lore and just being like shooter in space. Like that's kind of all I need. I don't need for it to be justified. I don't care about how bullets work in space or not. I'm just like, I'm all in. Yeah.
And the cool part is this is for both PlayStation 4 and PC. So that question that was there is like, how is it going to work with the controller? I'm right there with that question. Is like, how does this work with the controller? Is it better suited for a controller because of how the button layout is? Like, where those options are and where they lie. Of course, with mouse and keyboard, there's the option of customization of keys. But is it something that when you sit down with a controller, you're like, this is the preferred way to play this, because it just favors that type of movement much easier than you would get with, mouse and keyboard? Because one of the things that is hard, that I will say, is moving a mouse in conjunction with the transition of space. Like if you're moving in one direction and need to go in the other direction, you can have a lot of conflict there, where with joystick, like flight simulators, joysticks are usually easier with flying. So I think that's something to be said for those mouse and keyboard players who are like, oh, I'm going to come in and own on this like I do on other first-person shooters on mouse and keyboard. You might have the controller players going, they might have the advantage because of the joysticks.
Right, yeah, maybe you won't get that advantage there. Sorry to Xbox fans, this isn't coming out to Xbox.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a PC or PlayStation, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to more Boundary news. It seems like it's super fun. I'm really impressed by the graphics, by the gameplay.
Same.
I really like the variety in operators and how customizable they are. And this looks like a super fun game.
It really does. So much hype going for that. But that does bring us to the end of the daily gaming news hour. So those last two stories that we were going to talk about, one of being the cloud gaming with the Xbox Games Pass Ultimate, which launches tomorrow with more than 150 games. We'll talk about tomorrow.
In addition to Microsoft snubbing Apple's olive branch to cloud gaming, calling it a bad experience for customers.
And also tune in for us watching the animated short that will introduce the story behind another technically zero-gravity shooter, Star Wars Squadrons.
So thank you so much for joining us today for Daily Gaming News. We really appreciate all the subs, all the donos, all the follows, all the watch time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching our stream.
We can't do this without you, DGN family. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching our videos on our YouTube channel and liking and subscribing. Continue to follow and telling others about us. This drives us every day that we come on and do this hour for all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And don't forget, we're always live Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
And if you ever miss a show, we do reruns, and you can find VODs on YouTube, as well as certain segments that we've cut out, such as our interview with Quantum Error, our interview with Drew from Adiana, and other news bits and segments up on there.
Definitely check those out. And if you have any suggestions, ideas, or comments that you want to add to the conversation, don't forget to use our mailbag feature. We love to see those, and we will begin to dedicate days, if we get enough questions submitted in there, where we will go through our mailbag and answer those questions.
Also, let us know if you work in the gaming industry and would like to be interviewed on our show. We would love to interview more game developers, content creators, people who work in the industry, people with expertise. We'd love to pick your brain, just about what it's like to do the work that you do. So please let us know if you or anyone else that you know might be interested.
Absolutely. But thank you all so much for Daily Gaming News on September 14th, 2020. I am Marrone.
I am Kaisa. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, everybody.